Today on Clicks and Coffee, I'm thrilled to welcome Ingrid Burch, a dedicated advocate for senior living and well-being. With extensive experience in senior living consulting, Ingrid is the founder of Saving Grace Senior Consulting, an active board member of the Women's Resource Center of Florida, and also a board member at Better Living for Seniors. She's passionate about helping families navigate the complexities of senior care, offering guidance and support to ensure loved ones receive the best possible care. I'm excited to dive into her journey, her insights on senior living trends, and the impact she's making in this important field. Ingrid, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So I would like to start with learning a little bit about you and your background and what inspired you to start Saving Grace Senior Consulting.
So I have an extensive background in hospice to start with, almost 9 years of experience working with not just the senior community in hospice, but as well as anyone that needed it. I was a marketing director for an assisted living community, which brought me to where I am now, becoming an executive director for an assisted living community, and then starting this business because I saw such a great need in our Polk County area where we are, of people needing guidance, and they had so many questions and didn't know where to turn. So my goal was to use all the resources and the education that I've experienced throughout the years to help guide them in the right direction.
So it's like when we work with you, it's like having inside information on everything.
There you go. I'm always there to educate our senior community and their families on even hospice, because at some point we all need to know what to expect. It's not what it used to be. So just trying to be well-rounded for them.
Yeah, no, and that's so funny because that's exactly my second question is what really first drew you to the senior living industry and how your perspective has evolved over time?
So initially I was in advertising, and I was doing the advertising for the senior living communities, and someone addressed that they needed a marketing director, and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing in this. I've never done this. And she's like, but you would be so great. So I started that with one of the largest communities in our area. It was independent assisted and memory care. It was about 360 apartments. Didn't know what I was doing, but my love and passion for these seniors grew, seeing the complexities that their family face. They've never done this before. I don't want to leave my home. So that helped me to better understand on how to educate them and make it a smoother transition and what we needed to do to get them to that place. What brought me here was driving down the road, and Saving Grace came to my brain, and I feel like the good Lord just said, you know what, you need to do something. And here I am. I decided to start this business and jump out of corporate America to focus on my community and my seniors and their families.
And how has your perspective evolved over time on the senior living, or how do you see things evolving in the industry?
I do see a lot of our seniors are having a hard time financially because it's so expensive. These communities are all inclusive, so they're going to make sure their meals are prepared, and housekeeping and activities, and they have physicians that round. But it's getting harder for them to actually afford the communities that they would like to live in. So that's where you're going to have to see family jump in and help pay for some of this, or the state funding for Medicaid long-term care. It's been quite a challenge in educating them, because here they are in these homes for 50 plus years, and they don't have the money to move into a community that's going to take care of them because they can no longer take care of themselves at home. So I've seen this in the past 10 years really take a delve on what the family's going to have to do to jump in and assist, and where you're going to have to prepare yourself sooner than later, because a lot of people don't prepare because they don't understand what it's going to look like when that time comes.
So you would say that's really the biggest challenge today in the senior living industry is the affordability, I would say.
I would say that affording the communities that would be a good fit for you. There's lots of communities, but are they all up to par? No, they're not. And are they going to meet the standards of what the family wants? Not always. That's probably one of the biggest challenges. So I'm working with some companies that help come in and look at the home's value, because a lot of times they don't have that money aside to make that jump into the community living. And so they come in and they value the home. What's the home value? What contents do you want to leave? And then they auction off that, and they offer them a cash price up front to help them make that move. Because a lot of times you have
Wow.
to wait for the home to sell. And by that time, one of the spouses might have declined even more, and they just don't know where to turn. With Florida, especially, you have a lot of seniors that moved here to retire, leaving family behind in other states or countries, wherever they've moved from, and then they have no one. So that's where we have to jump in and be advocates for them.
And that is always, I would say, a little stressful to talk about the challenges, but there are also some great opportunities, with the advance of technology and all these things. So what are the opportunities that you see in the market, or at least in your area of Florida, in senior living today?
So one of the biggest things for our senior community is to stay active. And, you have to stay active or you're going to progressively age. And these communities offer that, as well as the communication between the families. So maybe that family member is out of state, but with technology, they're able to FaceTime, they're able to go on the computer, like we discussed earlier, on Facebook or social media, and these communities are sharing photos and videos of what's going on where their loved one is living, and they can jump right on and say, oh my gosh, I just saw mom at this big Valentine party today, and they look like they were having a blast. So the best part of all of that is the technology today of those loved ones not being close by, but still being able to see their face through FaceTime and on social media and things like that.
It's a big thing. So yeah, technology for sure has its, I would say, issues, but the pros really are amazing. And as you can hear, I'm not American originally, and I love being able to, as you say, FaceTime or even see what my family is doing in Europe. So that for sure, I would say, like, one of the biggest thing. And it's nice to have communities that can help with that as well, because we're not, I would say, there yet where the senior community, I would say, is super familiar with technology yet. It's getting there, and I think that's going to be one of the biggest change in the space. But it's great. And I know that we touched briefly before starting the podcast, as people don't necessarily understand the difference between senior living, and so they can choose the wrong, I would say, the wrong place for their loved ones. And so, can you briefly explain the different level of senior care, and why is it important to really understand the differences?
Sure. So there's a lot of misconception that a nursing home and a senior living community are the same thing. They're not. A nursing home is skilled care, and they have nursing on hand. Assisted living communities have nursing. However, it's not a skilled care, and it's more of apartment living, not living in like a hospital room, as well as having their independence still. They have that assistance. So the goal is to sit down with my clients, ask them, what kind of community are you looking for? Are you wanting a home-like community, or would you like a high-rise? What is important to you when you make that move, and what kind of opportunities are you looking for if you decide to make a move into a community? Are you a social active person, or are you one to, I need a library, I need this, I need that? So the goal is to completely sit down and get to know these people and do the tours with them, show them the different communities and what sets them apart. And that way they can kind of get a feel of what they like the best. Did that help
Okay.
explain that?
Yeah, no. But I think it's important because again, it's unless you really have the need and you like to do research, people kind of bundle everything into one. But
Mhm.
it's very different. And actually, my neighbors across the street recently moved to a senior community, and I went to visit them a couple months back, and I was so amazed how it's like living in a resort, like it was Margaritaville.
Yeah.
That was pretty impressive. Like, you come, they have like a restaurant, they have a breakfast restaurant. Then they also had, as you said, the nurses, and then I went to the apartment, and it was like a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment. It's super modern. It was like a very new development. And then although you had the pool, the gym, and like so much stuff, and it was so, yeah, I thought it was really, really amazing. What is being done today, and it was kind of abrupt when they told us, like, yeah, we're selling the house and we're moving to a senior living. I was like, what do you mean? Like, I see you guys running and doing this and doing that. What you move? What, in my mind, I was like, why? Makes no sense. But now I understand. When I went to visit, is they still do the exact same thing they do at the house without having to take care of the house, which for them is like exactly what they wanted.
And that's why a lot of these seniors decide at some point, they can't do the yard work anymore and they don't want to continue to pay out all that money. Um, they can't keep up with what the daily tasks are, but they still have a lot of life left. They want to live it. So they let go of all of that and they have a nice apartment
Yep.
and they have someone to come clean it once a week. The wife is like, after all these years, I'm not cooking all these meals. We're going downstairs or we're going over to the dining room and we're going to have our meals. I've heard that quite a bit. She's like, I don't have to cook anymore, Um, and they have an active lifestyle. It's just such a change from being on the homestead and going into a community. There's so many benefits. And I've heard it many times where I wish I'd have done this sooner. They're scared. One of the things I was told the other day is, I don't want to get locked away in a nursing home. It's like, this isn't a nursing home. And
Yep.
there's a big difference. And you will have interaction. You will have people checking in on you. They're there to help you. If you want to be left alone, you can be left alone, but you have that opportunity for interaction and there's someone always around. That way, if you need something, you're going to have someone there to help take care of it.
And so, getting into that a little bit deeper. So we know that the demand for senior living is going to keep growing.
Mhm.
So do you see the business really is going to, I would say, specialize and will really have, specific communities for each type of care, and see it more? Which are the ones that you see, evolve, like a growing more than other ones?
Unfortunately, I am seeing a lot more need for memory care for dementia and Alzheimer's communities. However, I'm working with a couple of communities now that they're digging in and they're trying to do this research, just like what we're talking, on what it is that this senior community is actually looking for. What kind of lifestyle? Like you said, it's like resort living. So they're either going to specialize in an independent or they're going to specialize in assisted and memory care. I feel like sometimes if they have too much going on, it's hard to decipher between the three. But if they've got a good thing going, it's not going to be that hard. So I do see a lot of them trying to go into more of a resort style living, restaurant style meals. You go and you sit down and you get waited on, and you always have a menu to choose different things from. Coffee bars. I've got quite a few communities now setting up specialty coffee bars and snack sections. Oh yeah. So they are having an enlightening to why, these seniors won't have to go anywhere if they continue to build their communities around these things that they want. Some of them actually have little grocery stores where they can go in and get a few things that they want to keep in their apartment because they still have kitchens or refrigerators. So the goal is to help reduce some of their stress and let them have that quality of life.
No, that's totally amazing. And so one of the things that I want to talk about is it's been a couple of years now, but what are the lessons that you have learned from the pandemic, and how are the senior living communities preparing for any future health challenges? Because we're getting more and more, we know that people are trying to build as many as they can of senior living communities because the demand is there, and people are aging. However, these people are more likely to get sick because their immune system is lower. And so what did you see from the pandemic, and how do you see people preparing for the future?
It was a sad time during that pandemic, and a lot of us tried to think outside the box on how we could bring some joy without being able to go in and physically see these people. These seniors are stuck in these buildings, so these communities were trying to, create some type of activity that they would enjoy while they weren't allowed to be able to see their family. They were going up to windows and talking on the phone at windows and touching the windows. It was really sad. And I think we learned a lot from that, because a lot of these families are like, I'm not going to go through this again. My mom or my dad will not be living in a community if I can't physically see them. A lot of people passed away alone. So they've made a lot of changes to that, safeguard, wear the mask. They have hand sanitizers everywhere. They have different things set up so that they still can go see their loved ones. And so, a lot of these communities learned a lesson because they lost a lot of their residents. And some of them they lost because of, I feel like, a broken heart. They were not being able to see their loved ones for so long. Couples were separated. I think we've all learned a lot from that, and the changes that they made to make sure that this doesn't happen again are in place. Just 2 years ago, I was working in a community as an administrator, and that was the thing, safety, precautions, make sure they know all of the education that they need to know, but also have in place the safeguards for them when they come in, whether it's the mask, the gown, hand sanitizer, something to protect them. And we've asked, take a temperature before you go visit. If you're running a temperature, we can't let you go in. But letting them still visit their loved one if they were healthy. They had questionnaires in place. Have you been sick? Have you traveled outside the country? All this stuff has been put in place, and it's gotten a little more lax now that everything's calmed down, but they learn from it. And let's hope that it continues to be that way.
Is that something that you track when you're helping families to choose a community, of saying, yeah, I would recommend this one because on top of being a great community, they're very, very careful about sickness and how people are interacting with other people?
It is. I actually I won't contract with a community that I'm not comfortable with. I get to know each one of these communities before anybody ever takes a tour and before I contract with them, so that I know that if my loved one needed to go into a community, these would be the communities I would want to work with. So I get to know them very well. Frequently, I'm in there and touring or being a part of some of their interaction with their community, whether they're having an event and I go visit, and get to know these administrators. What kind of people are they? Because that's who's going to draw the line a lot of times, is who can and can't do, or what we're going to do and we're going to change. So, and it's also knowing my client and what their expectations are and what their wishes are. This administrator might be a stickler on these things, so we're not going to we're not going to go there because I know how you feel about this. So every community is different, but the goal is, as for my job, is to know each one of them personally.
Inside out. Yeah, yeah. No, that's very impressive to even, you know, get to know the director to make sure that the rules, because they have the global rules, but
Yeah.
that the very specific rule of that community is going to fit the resident. That's really cool. And so, based on your extensive experience, what advice would you offer families just beginning the journey of finding a senior living for their loved ones?
The best advice I can give them is to talk to your physician, or maybe someone was in the hospital, or you're part of this 55 plus community, or your church, and ask them who they would recommend that would be a great consultant. Because I've been finding a lot of my clients have went online to get information, and you can pay for the top, you can pay to be up top, and automatically, oh, there they are. They click it and they get ran around, or they don't get what they need, or they're paying for something they don't even have to pay for. So, my advice is to ask your friends, ask your family, ask your church or your physician's office, who do they recommend or who do they work with? Because a lot of us do work with, I work closely with the hospitals, I work closely with nursing homes, physicians' offices, churches. These people are who I educate and get to know, and they know that I'm offering a free service of consultation so that these seniors aren't getting taken advantage of, and they're not having to pay me. So I would recommend starting there, and just start asking to set up tours. Hey, could you set up some tours? Let's go look at these communities. Let's get some pricing so you know what to prepare for, instead of it being thrown in your lap at the hospital or the rehab. It's like, hey, you really can't go home. You need to be prepared. And they're like, we don't even know where to begin. So education is key, and it's free.
So it's basically just when you are sending your kids to college, you go visit college, you go visit campuses.
Yeah,
You
we're just
do the,
the role.
you do the same thing. You do the same thing with senior living. Let's go and visit campuses and then see which one you like. And
Yes.
that's a
You
great
know,
advice. It's simple but great advice.
thank you. And the thing about it too is they can go, it's like, I want to try their food. So, hey, let's set up a lunch tour. You get a free meal. They want you to eat their food, because a lot of these seniors, the number one thing is, how's their food? Because I'm going to be eating this 3 times a day. So I said, let's do a lunch tour and you try it for yourself. And they also have so many events and activities that the outside community can come in and be a part of, and see what it's like to interact in these communities. So, the goal is, like you said, we're going to take tours, but it's not college, it's just senior living, and get a feel of, do I want to live here?
Well, that's really good. And the food, I totally agree. That would totally be me.
Yeah,
Uh,
most of
uh,
us.
yeah, no, for sure. So, for anybody, in Florida looking for senior living consulting, you guys can go to savinggraceseniorconsulting.com, or you can call 863-412-2774. And you'll get the best advice, and make sure that like the food is good, and that the director is good too, and matches. But Ingrid, it was such a pleasure having you on the podcast. So much good information, and very excited to get you back on the podcast in a couple of months and see how things are advancing. And we all know we were talking about AI and everything, that to see how is also impacting, I would say, the senior living. But thank you so much. I really wish you all the best in helping families, and looking forward to see you soon.
Thank you. You too. Have a great day.